the first rule of Fight Club. First rule of Fight Club is that there is no Fight Club. Don't talk about Fight Club. If you're in Fight Club, you keep it to yourself. You only talk about Fight Club to members of Fight Club. And even then, you're a little sketchy about talking to Fight Club. Rule number 1, numero uno. That's the first thing that you're taught about Fight Club when going in. Because you're about to do some illegal stuff. And the last thing we want you to do is running your mouth about the fact that you're doing some illegal stuff. Not to mention part of an organization that is doing illegal stuff. The definition of organized crime. So keep your mouth shut about it. Somebody should have told that to the terrorists and to the helpers of those terrorists that are in Syria, that are working at the behest of the regional governments, the United States, the Western governments, including Western-backed allies in the Middle East. Should have told them to shut up. Do you remember this? Last month, this comes out. BBC producer says Syrian Duma attack footage was staged. This created somewhat of a bombshell, even though I don't know why people thought this was a bombshell. The information, for the most part, was purely Facebook and Twitter. And even when the OPCW did an investigation of it, they found like table salt, like chlorine. Like it wasn't this chemical weapons attack that these people were talking about. And further still, as Matt has said, we're still looking for evidence. Here's the catch. The BBC producer comes back, says it was staged. There are people who were a part of it, comes back, says it was staged. And now you have a report presented to the United Nations of multiple members that were associated with the White Helmets saying, we staged the attacks. We staged the chemical attacks. Take a look at this. This is Sputnik, but I was looking at other channels for this, and this was a report that was presented to the United Nations. At least 40 members of the White Helmets organization have admitted during recent interviews that they staged chemical attacks in Syria to provoke retaliation against President Bashar al-Assad. Now, I said this. If you remember, almost a year ago, I made the point that they didn't really have any major evidence of this. The only evidence they had of this were people who were backed with the West who wanted the regime change of Bashar al-Assad. So you have to take this information with a certain degree of skepticism. And skepticism even more so because once the information was released, there was no investigation of it. It was just an automatic attack. This didn't really make any sense, though, from a common sense perspective. Bashar al-Assad has essentially taken back his territory. He has Russia and Iran backing him on this. He has the overwhelming majority of his territory. He's clung to power like grim death. But we're supposed to believe that he's going to put all of that into question by provoking the West with a chemical weapons strike. It makes no sense. He already has everything that he wants using conventional military. Why would he do that? The people who were the Democrats who were on board for this told me that he was just a bad guy. And because he was a bad guy, he needed to be removed. That's it. He was a bad guy. That was enough. Him being a bad guy doesn't necessarily mean he's horrible in military strategy. One of which being you don't provoke the superpower that is looking for any pretext to invade. Sometimes you make your own pretext. In this case, it was called the White Helmets. Let's take a look at this. We have interviewed 40 members of the White Helmets, including those from Duma, who provided detailed description of their methods commonly used by the organization to fake scenes. And this is the organization. Foundation for the Study of Democracy Director Maxim Grigoriev, let's just call him Maxim, said on Thursday as he unveiled the results of the new study at the United Nations. We have interviewed 40 members of the White Helmets, including those from Duma, who provided a detailed description of their methods commonly used by the organization to fake scenes, Maxim said. The foundation conducted a fact-finding mission in Syria and located both White Helmet members and dozens of other people who participated in staged attacks, Maxim said. Those people told us in detail how they had participated in the staging for a few dollars to buy some food for their families. Think about that. You're a starving family. Look, I give you $30. I need you to participate in this act. I just need you to pretend. You have a kid to feed. What do? That's not even a question, right? Let's keep going. One woman recounted how she was given white burial shroud to wrap herself up in and then told to lay on the ground and smear her mouth with toothpaste Maxim said. Another recalled being told to close his eyes as he was filmed being taken to medical center by members of the White Helmets. Ammar al-Mustafa ibn Mohammed from Aleppo saw with his own eyes how they simulated a chemical attack. They brought children, laid them down, put civilians away, and filmed children as if they died with the chemical attack, he said. This is also with subsequent reports that come out showing that there was a coordinated effort between the United States, meaning the CIA, working through MI6 in order to put weapons, ammunitions, materials in Syria, working with Middle East and Western powers to topple that government. They had all sorts of intelligence services working hand in hand. New York Times called it, I think it was New York Times or Washington Post, but called it one of the biggest intelligence services with the idea of taking down a government in history. So am I shocked that, all of these intelligence services with the express interest of taking down Bashar al-Assad may have spent some of that change into getting people for a propaganda campaign? No, I'm not shocked in the least. I'm not shocked in the least. And this is something that we have been saying going back for years. This is just more confirmation of what we've been talking about. In March, the OPC, the facts presented in the Foundation's investigation confirmed that the OPCW was deliberately failed to conduct an impartial assessment of the incident in Duma and raised doubts about what else the organization is capable of making in the future. Now, their point is this. And to be fair to the OPCW, if I am not mistaken, when that report came back, the OPCW found that they were like constituents of something like chlorine, but that could have been from table salt. But either way, this puts it in further question about the legitimacy of what has been put out that has been essentially a propaganda campaign to take down the Syrian government. So I will end this here. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through PayPal or Patreon. Thanks all. And I have one more story for today. I'll see you shortly.